The enemy. There is no mercy.
1 minute. Look at them fall! Fantastic work!
Ladies and gents, my name is Xander, aka Deicide, and in this video, we're going to go ahead and discuss and review how to play on the Hunter, and more specifically, how to play on the Nightstalker subclass. For those of you Guardians who are with me since Destiny 1, you all know that I was a Nightstalker main back in Destiny 1. Since Destiny 2 has come around, I was a little bit concerned because I saw some of the gameplay with this subclass and thought that it wasn't that great, but to my surprise, this subclass is by all means one of the best, if not the best subclass in this entire game. The main primary reason I say this is because the abilities on this subclass can be used in a wide variety of situations, making it one of the most versatile subclass in this entire game. It can be used to flank, it can be used to play passively, it can be used to play aggressively, and so that's exactly what we're going to discuss, is not just all the playstyles in which this subclass can be utilized, but we're also going to discuss the subclass's pros and cons so that you guys know exactly how it's meant to be utilized for your particular playstyle. Another huge reason that we're doing this video is because my very good friends Eric, Weeb, BB3000, Ryan, and Kiss have all been asking for this for quite some time, and the reason why it's taken so long to make is because I really wanted to grasp and understand all the weapons pros and cons I mentioned from earlier so that I could explain them to you in their entirety. The only thing left to do is to eviscerate that subscribe button, and let's jump right into the video. One of the most pivotal aspects into grasping and mastering any subclass is to understand how to maneuver on that subclass, and for the Nightstalker, you have one of three jumps. The first one is called a high jump, which upgrades double jump to achieve even greater heights. The second is a strafe jump, and strafe jump upgrades double jump with better directional control while you are in the air. The last option is triple jump, and this upgrades double jump with a third jump. Of all three of these jumps, the only two that I would recommend that you use is either strafe jump and triple jump, and let me explain why. With strafe jump, this is the only jump that allows you to get the most horizontal distance in the smallest amount of time, and for this one reason, it is fantastic to gain map control. If you're playing game modes like Countdown or Survival, getting the map control is absolutely essential, and strafe jump will easily allow you to get that map control even faster. In addition to this, strafe jump will allow you to go drastically higher into the air, and so it's fantastic for losing line of sight in archways or corridors or some other close confined spaces. The other thing about strafe jump is that it's marvelous for when you couple it with a fantastic exotic, and that's called the Frosties. More often than not, whenever you have the Frosties and the strafe jump combined together, this allows you to lose line of sight on the enemy guardian even in open areas, and that's because their sensitivity is most likely not that high. Many Guardians play at a sensitivity of only 3, and when you play at a sensitivity of 9 or higher, then this allows you to have exceptionally good maneuverability aspects, and that simply can't be done with other jumps, whereas with the strafe jump, not only will you lose line of sight, but you also have height advantage, and that is fantastic in every way, shape, and form. In contrast to this, we also have triple jump, and triple jump will allow you to have a third jump, and this is excellent for being able to maneuver more often and more evasively in the air itself. The one thing bad about strafe jump is that as soon as you do happen to jump, your trajectory is going to be very predictable, and that's the exact opposite with triple jump, as it allows you to have multiple types of elevations because you're able to change that elevation continuously throughout your jump. In addition to this, it also makes you very maneuverable so that you can constantly change your direction, and so you can go backwards, forwards, left or right, all while you're in the air, whereas this simply cannot be done with a strafe jump itself. Personally, I like to have on triple jump, and that's because I like to change my trajectory, making me a harder target to hit while I'm in the air. In conjunction with this, triple jump will allow me to actually peek around a corridor, while at the same time being able to jump back out of the corridor, and once again, this simply cannot be done with the strafe jump. Overall, you gotta pick a jump that fits your playstyle the best, and so whichever one that you choose, make sure that you know exactly the pros and cons that will fit you perfectly. The next ability that I want to discuss is one that can be found on all the Hunter subclasses, and it's either called a Marksman's Dodge or a Gambler's Dodge, both of which can be used in a wide variety of ways, and let me explain exactly how. With a Marksman's dodge, this is a twirl animation that automatically reloads your equipped weapon while you're dodging. In contrast to this, we have Gambler's dodge, and this is a dash animation that generates melee energy while dodging near enemies. So the two main primary things here is that we have one animation that does a twirl and the other animation that does a dash. Marksman's dodge is going to allow you to have this twirl animation, and that's very convenient if you're going in and out of cover and then going right back into the gun battle engagement itself. Inversely related to this is the Gambler's dodge, and that's more of a dash animation like Shade Step was back in Destiny 1, and this will allow you to get into cover faster, and it's meant to be designed to dash into those cover environments. It's not meant, nor is it intended to be bringing you back into the gun battle engagement, and so that's a huge distinction between the Marksman's dodge and the Gambler's dodge. Another massive distinction between these two abilities is that Marksman's dodge is going to reload your weapon, and Gambler's dodge is going to give you your melee energy whenever you're dodging near the enemies. For a very aggressive playstyle like myself, I like to have on Marksman's dodge, and that's because I always want to get back into the gun battle engagement faster, and this is a fantastic ability to have whenever you're using hand cannons or something else along those lines. However, I will state that Gambler's dodge is extremely powerful just as much as what Marksman's dodge is, and that's because it's going to give you your melee energy, and the melee energy on the Nightstalker is exceptionally potent, and how that's going to be is exactly what we're going to discuss in just a little bit. If you want to be able to utilize the Nightstalker subclass effectively, then what you've got to know next is the way in which the grenades work for this particular Nightstalker subclass. You have 3 grenades in which you can choose from, one of which is called a vortex grenade, followed by a spike grenade, followed by a void wall grenade, and all 3 of which do very different things, and let me explain exactly how they're meant to be utilized effectively. A vortex grenade is an explosive grenade that creates a vortex of void light that continuously damages enemies caught inside of it. A spike grenade is a grenade that attaches to any surface and emits a coned torrent of damaging void light that causes instant DPS for an extended time duration. A void wall grenade is another grenade, but in this case it creates a horizontal wall of burning void light to damage guardians over an extended period of time. As you can already tell, each one of these grenades is drastically different from one into the next, and the way in which you're meant to be utilizing them effectively is extremely different, and let me explain exactly what that is now. A vortex grenade is meant to be utilized for a control capture area, and it's meant to hold down a particular threshold. What I mean by threshold is it's meant to hold down a corridor or an alleyway or something else along those lines, and to prevent someone else from coming through that particular choke point. On the other hand, you have a spike grenade, and a spike grenade is more universal and it's more versatile because you can actually control the area in which you're meant to have this cone effect damage enemy guardians. Not just this, but it can be attached to any surface, and that really gives you the opportunity to damage multiple guardians at the exact same time, and for this one reason, I personally believe that the spike grenade is by all means the best. You can also choose on to have on the void wall grenade, and the void wall grenade is fantastic for not just open environments, but also for closed environments, meaning that it can be utilized in those open and closed spaces. The only thing bad about this is that you really don't have great control over where that line of void wall is going to go, and more often than not, it's going to be randomized, and so for this reason, it's not very reliable. However, if you just want to go into a closed space environment and make sure that there's absolute chaos going on, then void wall grenade is by all means the best way to go. If you're looking for more something that's controlled, then I would suggest using a spike grenade, and if you really just want to hold down a choke point, then the vortex grenade is once again the easiest option in those case scenarios. For me in my particular playstyle, I believe that the spike grenade is by all means the best grenade, and that's because it gives you the most options, aka the most versatility, to be able to use that grenade in a wider variety of situations, while at the exact same time giving you the control as to exactly where you want that damage to go, and it can be utilized in a closed space environment, an open space environment, or even in closed corridors, and when you can use it in whichever one that you see fit. Now that you kind of got a grasp and a key understanding of how the basic abilities work on the subclass, the very next thing that I want to discuss about the Nightstalker subclass is the way in which you can use the skill trees, one of which is called Way of the Trapper, and one of which is called Way of the Pathfinder. With Way of the Trapper and Way of the Pathfinder, each one of these subclass builds is designed around how you will get your invisibility, and that invisibility is meant to be utilized in a wide variety of ranges, and so let's go ahead and discuss exactly how that's done on the Way of the Trapper skill tree first. The first perk that we have within this skill tree is one that's called Snare Bomb, and Snare Bomb states that this melee ability throws a smoke bomb trap from a distance. The smoke bomb sticks to surfaces and detonates when enemies are near, slowing and disorientating them at the exact same time. What it doesn't mention, it can also damage enemy guardians, and that is simply fantastic. If one person happens to be one shot here or there, then you can simply just go ahead and toss your smoke grenade and then finish them off, no problem whatsoever. In addition to this, you can also toss your smoke bomb not just for damaging or slowing or disorientating your targets, but you can also use it to throw off your enemies, and that's because whenever you toss a smoke grenade, that actually shows up as a red blip on the enemy radar. For this one particular reason, the snare bomb is by all means a fantastic and extremely powerful aspect of this overall build, and you can utilize it in a wide variety of ways, making this one ability invaluable. The next ability that we have on this subclass is called Vanishing Step, and Vanishing Step states that dodging makes you vanish from sight for a very short period of time. Once again, this is another invaluable ability, and that's because you can constantly go invisible whenever you do your dodge animation. Whether you're using Marksman's dodge or Gambler's dodge, it really doesn't matter, as you're always able to go invisible, and invisibility is going to give you one of two things. Number one, it's going to make it so that you are almost invisible entirely and the enemy guardians simply can't see you, making it so that you become a much harder target to hit, as that also throws off their aim assist. Number two, as soon as you do happen to go invisible, you also go off radar yourself, and this is fantastic for flanking or maneuvering or getting out of line of sight or doing whatever it is that you so see fit in order for you to have the next possible best advantage to win that gun battle engagement. The next ability that we have in this subclass is one that's called Keen Scout, and Keen Scout states that you sprint and sneak faster and also gain an enhanced tracker. In correlation with this, tethered enemies are marked for easy tracking. So the wonderful thing about this is that not only are you actually able to sprint faster, but you're also able to sneak faster, and what the game means by sneak faster is that whenever you're crouching, you actually have a better crouching speed, and it allows you to get to places much more frequently or much faster than what you could if you were actually walking. The wonderful thing about this perk is that Keen Scout allows you to have a faster sprint speed, and that sprint speed is spectacular for getting to the map control faster, and this is why it might appear that some hunters are actually faster than others, and that's because Keen Scout gives them a sprint increase, aka a sprint speed boost. The last perk that can be found in this subclass is one that's called Deadfall, and Deadfall states that void anchors fired from shadow shots become traps and a way for enemy prey. In correlation with this, void anchors have increased range and last even longer. Essentially, Deadfall is only applying to your super, and with this way of the Trapper skill tree, you're only going to get one shadow shot with that particular super. With Deadfall, that one void anchor has the potential to have increased range and last longer, and that also implies that it can tether up to 4 enemy guardians, and it really just depends on how good that your shot actually is. Even if your shot does happen to miss all 4 guardians, the good news is that the void anchor is still going to wait there until someone does actually happen to come by it, and when they do come by it, that's when the tether acts like a trap and will wait for the enemy prey, and at that point in time, you can then pounce and absolutely eviscerate that guardian no problem whatsoever with whatever gun that you happen to be using. Now that we have all 4 perks discussed on the way of the Trapper skill tree, the next skill tree that I really want to understand is the way of the Pathfinder. And the first perk that we have within this skill tree is one that's called Vanishing Smoke. Vanishing Smoke states that this melee ability throws an explosive smoke bomb from a distance. The smoke bomb creates a cloud that makes you and nearby allies go completely invisible. So right here we can already see the drastic difference in the way of the Trapper and the way of the Pathfinder, and how you get that invisibility difference from what I was mentioning from earlier. In the way of the Trapper skill tree, you have Vanishing Step, and that is associated with your dodge, allowing you to go invisible whenever you do your dodge animation. In contrast to this with the way of the Pathfinder, you can also go invisible, but it only happens with your smoke, and that smoke can actually make not just you, but your allies go invisible for a very short period of time. The next perk that we can find in the way of the Pathfinder skill tree is one that's called Lockdown, and Lockdown states that grenades and smoke effects last twice as long, allowing for strong territorial control and increased damage potential. From these 2 perks of Lockdown and Vanishing Smoke, we can already see as to how they're going to complement each other so well, because Vanishing Smoke is going to get enhanced by Lockdown, not only increasing your invisibility, but at the exact same time increasing the duration of your grenades, and that applies for a Vortex, a Void Wall, as well as a Spike Grenade. The next perk in this skill tree is one that's called Mobius Quiver, and Mobius Quiver states that you can fire a shadow shot multiple times in rapid succession. Once again, we see a drastic difference here from that of the previous skill tree and this skill tree, because this allows you to shoot multiple tethers, damaging multiple enemies at the exact same time, whereas with the Trapper skill tree, you only get one shadow shot that has a larger duration to actually tether guardians. The very last perk that we have on the skill tree is one that's called Heart of the Pack, and Heart of the Pack states that killing tethered enemies creates orbs of light and also increases mobility, recovery, and resilience for you and nearby allies. The reason why I like this particular perk so much is because whenever you're using your super, not only are you going to be able to have multiple shots, but this also implies that you and your entire team is going to become almost invincible for a very short period of time. Now that you guys know all the abilities found in each one of these two skill trees, you can really see the drastic difference from one skill tree into the next. If I was you, I would highly recommend that you use Way of the Trapper, and the reason for this is because not only can you use your smoke to actually damage enemy guardians, but it's also going to slow them and disorientate them, and at the exact same time, it can even throw off their radar. In conjunction with this, you have Vanishing Step, which allows you to become invisible more frequently, and that is by all means one of the most important aspects about this entire subclass: invisibility, invisibility, invisibility. With this knowledge of the subclass skill trees, the very next thing that we had to discuss and analyze is the super and how to use it effectively. If you happen to be using the Way of the Trapper skill tree like I am, then all these things are meant and designed to be either done in one of two ways, and that is to use it as a reaction or as an anticipation super, and let me explain exactly how. The reason that's done as a reaction is because you're going to notice that if someone's charging you with a Stormcaller or with a Striker Titan or say a Dawnblade or whatever kind of roaming super that it might be, even if it happens to be an Arc Strider, this is going to be classified as a reaction. You're seeing this person come directly at you, and so you want to instinctively go ahead and do your tether so that they get caught in that tether, and then of course you can easily down them, no problem whatsoever. The one key thing that you have to understand about this particular style of play is that this is a reaction, and so you have to make sure that you have enough time not only to shoot your super, but for it to hit the ground, and then for it to actually have the enough delay time to actually tether the enemy guardian. This is one huge aspect that a lot of people don't see, and they waste their tethers in so many ways like this because they simply aren't giving themselves enough time for that super to actually take into effect. How you'll use this super as an anticipation method is by simply having one thing and one thing only, and that is map awareness, aka radar retention. As soon as you have that radar retention and you see one or two, possibly even three blips on your radar, more than likely than not, that means that the enemy guardians are going to be directly around that corner, and then you can go ahead and tether every single one of them. The reason that you have to have that aspect is because if you see them and don't anticipate them to come around the corner, by that time it's going to be too late, and the tether is only going to get one guardian if you're even lucky enough to get so. That's why the second method is what I like to call it as an anticipation method, and that's because you're already predicting what's going to happen in the future, and thus you're going to have that gun battle engagement in your advantage when you tether 3, possibly even 4 guardians. With all this being said, you guys now have a very solid and firm grasp on how to utilize effectively this Nightstalker subclass. You understand the subclass's jump, its dodge, its grenade, as well as the skill trees with all of its pros and cons, and of course the super and how to utilize that super effectively. It really just comes down to your personal playstyle and your preference on exactly how you want to utilize this subclass, but just keep in mind that everything within this video is meant to give you the best possible options and to educate you so that you can utilize it effectively so that it can fit your playstyle the best. Let me know what you guys think about all this stuff down in the comment section below, and also if you have any other tips or tricks on how to utilize the subclass effectively, as that can only not just help me, but it's going to help everyone else too, and that's always a very positive thing. Lastly, go ahead and check out some of my other new videos, as you guys can see right there on the screen. If you happen to enjoy this one, they're definitely going to enjoy those as well. That's pretty much all that I've got for you as of right now, and so as always, deislayers, great gaming, until next time.